I would just sit there and eat apples. Just like, it was like, wow, this is unbelievable. All you can eat, you know? What a great country. Apples everywhere.
In the competitive world of graphics processing, NVIDIA's star continues to rise.
And as a leading graphics chip maker, NVIDIA is obviously doing something right.
NVIDIA has the momentum right now. It's going to be a while, I think, before anybody really catches up.
They're out to win. Coming back, Jensen has a very, very strong desire to win. And that's one of the reasons he drives the company the way he does, is that he has that goal in mind.
Where I grew up in Asia, in the tropics, there were no apples. And I remember a lot about Thailand. I remember that I loved to climb.
He likes to pick these challenges that just go on and on, right?
I was a rambunctious kid. I was always pushing my boundaries. I was always doing something that was on the border of naughty.
We had a vision for NVIDIA that we could be the most important, the most relevant 3D graphics company in the world. That was a bold thing coming from three guys working out of a condo in Fremont.
Always a straight A student, always did my homework before I went out, but I was always pushing the boundaries. I think a little bit of that kind of, that's who I am today. I'm always slightly pushing the boundaries, pushing the company's boundaries, pushing the industry's boundaries, and then that's kind of how I grew up in Thailand. In 1973, I think I was 9 years old. My older brother was 10. There was an upheaval. Military was tanks and soldiers were marching down the middle of the street. People were shooting each other, and so my parents felt that it was probably best to send us to the United States to live with our uncle. Shortly after, they sent us to Kentucky Oneida Baptist Institute, and Oneida Baptist Institute turns out to have been quite a special school, and I knew something was wrong when we checked in, and my first sign that this was a different school was the entire ground was covered with cigarette butts. It was just cigarettes everywhere. I've never seen that many cigarette butts, and so the entire ground was covered with cigarette butts. My second indication that something was going to be a little different was my roommate. I mean, I was expecting a roommate about my age. Turns out my roommate was 17 years old, getting ready for bed. I noticed that he had all these fresh wounds, and he had just come from the hospital. He was in a fight. He had 7 stab wounds, and the other kid was killed. And so he was my roommate. And so that was kind of the beginning of my American experience, if you will. And I loved it. I loved every moment of Oneida.
As much as you and I might picture trouble, and harassment and racism and all sorts of things, Jensen, I never heard him express it that way. Yeah, he realized later it was a reform school, but what he always talked about was the opportunity to sit on his window ledge and reach out and grab an apple and sit on his window ledge and eating apples. You say, but what did you do? Well, I cleaned floors with toothbrushes and I got beat up a bunch, but I got to eat apples. So it's really kind of interesting, this circumstance that many would have seen as oppressive and demeaning and demoralizing. Young Jensen found the good in and found motivation and drive.
The single most important resource is inspiration, is hope, it's aspiration, it's feelings. And so what leaders do is inspire others and create resources out of nothing, create energy from nothing.
He is there 100% or 150%. He's picking his involvements, but whatever he does, he's there 150%.
The role of a leader is not only to point people in the right direction, but it's to motivate them to get there, to give them a vision of the future, give them a vision of what success looks like, and to give them the courage to push past the minor bumps and hurdles that come along the way. Jensen's exceptional at this. What in Jensen's background helped him come up with this aspiration to not stop at good, to always go for great? You know, it's hard to say. I know as a young man he was a ping pong champion, played in national doubles tournament.
The thing that I would say I regret is the opportunity was teed up perfectly for me.
He came in second. I know Jensen. He doesn't like coming in second. To him, that's first loser.
You know, I was 15 years old, here you are in the middle of Las Vegas, thousands and thousands of people, and all of that stuff is a little bit intoxicating, if you will. It's just too much.
You know, maybe it's that effort, all the effort it took to get to the championship and not coming away with the big prize. Maybe that helped motivate him as a professional.
The thing I learned is you have to know the moment and know why it's important and prioritize it right. I am a master at knowing when that moment is today. There's always a moment. Every day matters, but there's a moment that's really, really important for the leader to be at the top of their game and for the leader to harness and bring together the company so that we are all at the top of our game. I recognize that winners don't play their best every single point, but they seem to always play their best when the points matter.
It actually runs through his life. This extreme focus on getting something done right, and rather, you know, limiting the things he's working on, but getting those things right. And cooking is like, it's just like running a company where everything happens at once, right? And you got to keep your eyes not just on one thing, like the burger or the steak, but you got to look at all these other things.
I love every aspect of cooking. You're constantly looking to bring out the best, you know, bring out something great about the ingredient, or in our case in a company, you bring out the best in your people. It's about making the whole greater than the sum of the pieces.
So he has this sort of ability, and I know very few people who have this ability of essentially throwing a bunch of things together and it will taste great. And I think that's sort of what he does in business too, where, you know, you can throw a challenge at him, and even though somebody else says there's no recipe for that, he'll find a way to combine these ingredients, and by focusing on it, making sure nothing overcooks or undercooks, he will get it just right. He's unflappable. You throw him a challenge and he's up for it. And but when both of his kids were out of the house after college, he was in pain.
I love them around, and when they moved away, now they're on two sides of the world. Spencer's in Taiwan, Madison's in Miami. It's just harder and harder to get everybody together, and I miss them. I miss them a lot.
He just loves family, and family goes over everything, I think.
My only real aspiration for all of this is that Spencer and Madison grow up to be wonderful people that lead wonderful lives. I hope that they find lots of struggle. I hope that they find lots of challenges, and I hope that they find the joy in overcoming them. I hope that they got those habits from me.